and it's going to be green light racing here at Monza. Here goes Noah. He's going to try and go wheel to wheel with the leader. Vic once again back on the top step. We did say take it easy. Oh my goodness. Sinead's going to go for it here into 14, 15. Side by side, is it going to be Mercedes or is it going to be a BMW?
Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. Hope you can hear me well. Glad to have you with us tonight. We are going to enjoy some very good racing tonight. Drivers are going to be driving around the Nordschleife, the absolutely legendary green hell. So you're in for an absolute treat. It's the ultimate test of a driver's skill. Before we get on to that, don't forget we have our website live, phoenixsimsport.co.uk, where we have the shop and some features coming up very soon as well. Hopefully you will enjoy all of that. You can get anything from, as you can see, trucker caps to sets of pins to customized shirts as well with your own race number and your name on the back too. So do check it out. There's some really cool stuff up there and new stuff coming soon too. Also, as well as that, don't forget we are affiliated with Asetek. If you do need some sim racing gear, please use our Asetek link, and that will then help us to provide you with a better racing service, because we get a little bit of a cut from any sales that are made, which is very nice indeed. It's a good way to get the gear you need and support the league that you love so much. And so with that out of the way, let's get on and show you what the guys are racing here tonight. So these are classic type cars that you would see at the likes of Le Mans, if the capture would show up for me. Just a moment. It wouldn't be a Mav stream if there wasn't if there wasn't some issues. For some reason, it's saying it's not a game. Wonderful. Just a moment. There we go. Let's move that to the bottom. We'll get there eventually. There we go. Wonderful. We are ready to rock. Thank you for bearing with me. Absolute classic, technical issues. Okay, so this is going to be very interesting. We are at the start of qualifying here. Let's bring up the track map. So the drivers basically have only one single outlap in which to practice the entire circuit, and then they are going to have a single lap to set a time. So this is basically one-shot quali. So it's going to be very interesting. Do you go a little conservative, maybe try to set a good solid lap time and hope that everyone else invalidates, or do you go flat out, try to set the best lap time you can, but then you end up invalidating? That is going to be an interesting question. Let's see how we get on here tonight. So we're on board at the minute with Martin. So Martin is now exiting the GP part of the circuit. So the drivers tonight are driving on the combined GT and Nordschleife. Both of the, Nordschleife. Nordschleife is the GP track. Apologies. The combined track that gives them a little bit extra distance, and you may very well be familiar with both. At the moment, leading the pack, we've got Oscar, who is driving, that looks like the Ferrari tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any differences between each of the cars here this evening. Remember, right now, drivers are just setting up for their laps. We don't actually have anyone on a timed lap at the moment. We won't for another several minutes. And Oscar already struggling off onto the grass there. Let's see who is coming up after that. It must be Marcel then, is coming up next. So he's in the Renault Alpine. Nice colourful livery. Trying to get the car into a good performance window. Get those tires nice and warmed up. There should be no concerns of that by the time they start their flying laps. They should be all warm and ready to go. Interestingly, Kenzie took a little bit longer to get out of the pits there, so we are going to be waiting for Kenzie to set a lap time, who will be setting a lap time last out of all of the drivers. But that does then mean that whoever goes last gets that little bit extra benefit, because then they know what other drivers have set, and they can then tune how hard or how conservative they push throughout their lap. So tactically, it's a very smart decision, as long as you're able to get around to the line in time. So if Kenzie makes a mistake at all on the out lap, then that could result in not being able to set a hot lap at all. Let's go on board here with Oscar, who's coming down towards, is that, the carousel, the legendary carousel, using that banking to the best of his ability. Wonderful stuff. And let's see, Marcel then is the next one. Go down into the banking. Beautiful, beautiful corner. Let's see then where Mighty is. Mighty then basically out on his own at the moment. Decided to go out, what's that, fifth out of all of the drivers. So has got oh, excuse me. Quite a large gap in front, and quite a large gap behind as well. So he'll be able to gauge a little bit what kind of lap times the guys in front are doing as well. Might be a little bit null and void, because you might be coming on to the main straight by the time someone else sets a lap time anyway, but let's see. We've got 7 minutes remaining in this session, which is so strange to be near the end, or halfway through the session, and we are still not on a hot lap. Interesting. But that is the nature of the Nordschleife. And now Oscar is going to be the first to come up onto the main straight. Let's see, actually, if we turn on the speedo, what kind of top speed these cars are getting to. So, are we going to get over 300 kph? We are. 146 liters of fuel in the car, which is an awful lot of fuel to be carrying around. And we do just get to about 308, I think was the top speed there at any point, before we have to brake for this section of corners, which is then going to lead us on to the GP straight, where usually that would be the final corner in the GP circuit. And here we go then. Oscar first to start a hot lap. Let's see how this goes. Followed closely behind. Oh, I thought that was a mistake there, but that's right, that the circuit takes a very interesting change of direction at that particular point. So Oscar doing a good job here, keeping it nice and tidy. And Ikapok and Rafa actually both in the pits, so I wonder, have they actually abandoned their laps? They must have done, because they're not going to get around for a lap time. So Rafa and Ikapok will not be taking part in this session any further. A little touch of oversteer for Oscar there. These cars have got to be a little bit of a handful. When this car would have been running, these things had an immense amount of power. And you can see they've got some downforce, but it wouldn't have been an awful lot. And now we do enter the Nordschleife for real. Let's take a quick look at timings. There's obviously nothing on the board at the moment. We do see Rafa still in the pit box. Ikapok has headed out for another attempt. He's not going to get round in time though. So that might just be to get that little bit extra practice in. May as well try. At least practice part of the circuit. Nordschleife is such a difficult track to properly learn because it is so absolutely huge. 27 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure whether that is with the GP track included or not. Nice. Tidy job here from Oscar. And that's just a beautiful camera we got there from the trackside. Wonderful. Touch of the grass there. But it doesn't seem to upset the car too much. Green flag. Thank you, Marshall. Oh, and that is off on the grass. Hopefully that's not an invalidation. And Marcel, just behind that, may very well have seen all of that grass being kicked up in the air. And may very well actually be gaining on Oscar here. Let's see if we've got some split times. So unfortunately we're not going to get any split times, so we're not going to be able to tell who is on the fastest lap until they do cross the line, unfortunately. It would have been lovely to be able to analyze the split times as they come across the line, but it is what it is. 1 minute 52 left in this session. So if you're not on a hot lap now, then you will not be able to complete one or even start one. Yeah, I think Marcel is creeping that little bit closer to Oscar. Let's go on board with Mighty. Let's see how he's getting on. Seems to be handling the car okay. It looks like there's a little bit of damage there on the front right of that car, and a mistake there from Mighty. That's going to lose a little bit of time, but he keeps it out of the wall, so is able to continue. And as we say, you know, if you complete a lap here, that may very well beat a lot of people anyway. But Mighty has got most of the work still to do. Let's go on board with Oscar. Unfortunately, we just missed him there as he did the carousel. But there is Azure Heart, Marcel, going through. I think he definitely is closer. And now, this nice section down at the back of the circuit has got a particularly nice flow to it. I can only imagine what it must be like driving in these cars. Let's go on board next then with Martin. Martin is gonna jump into the carousel and keeps it. Oh, little clip of that curb on the inside that upset the car a little. 500 seconds remaining until you can complete your qualifying lap, so the pressure is now on. I wonder, was that a little bit of a mistake there from Martin? But then again, how much is that really going to affect the overall lap time? It's going to depend what it comes down to in the end. Is the split between drivers, is it going to be seconds? Is it going to be points of a second? Oh, it's hard to tell. Mini carousel absolutely flying through there for Oscar and Marcel. Beautifully taken. As we now go down onto the main back straight, here we go, flat all the way down this particular section of the track. Wonderful sound from these cars. I wonder, could Marcel actually be close enough here to just be getting a little bit of a distant tow from that car in front of Oscar? Might be a little too far, but that could have gained just that little bit extra lap time. Again, it depends how close this is, but I reckon Marcel is probably going to beat Oscar's lap time here. Here we go. And we are going to approach the line. What time is it going to be from Oscar then? It is an 8:13.9. Marcel does go the pole then with an 8:12.8, beating Oscar by a full second. So Oscar has to settle for P2 at the moment. Next to come up towards the line then is going to be Martin. And he has got then an 8:12.8 to beat. What an absolutely crazy lap time. 8 minutes for one lap. It just goes to show how much of a challenge this circuit is. Here we go, last corner for Martin towards the line. And it's a 12.9, so Martin loses out by 0.1 of a second. That is incredible. So potentially just one tiny little mistake somewhere around the circuit is what then has allowed Marcel to hold on to pole. So Mighty then has abandoned his lap, so that is him done for now. Kenzie now has 306 seconds to complete this lap. And yeah, any lap time will result in P4. But can Kenzie place it somewhere in there in the 812, 813 region? Only one way to find out. So, unfortunately, everyone else in the garage has got, you know, 300 seconds to wait. That's the joy of qualifying at Nordschleife. Ooh, wide for Kenzie. But he keeps it out of the wall for now, at least. Looks like he's had a little bit of a scuffle with the wall there at some point. Oh, wide of the apex there for Kenzie. Could have just chopped a little bit more time off there. Oh, a little wobbly in here and off onto the grass. But again, keeps it out of the wall. That car's looking very wobbly. I wonder, is that a little bit of suspension damage? It's looking very tricky to control. He's maybe just trying to bring it home at the moment. He's got 200 seconds left to get to the line. But this is now Sector 2 complete with another touch of the wall. Looks like that car just won't quite turn in enough. See what it's like through the mini carousel. Yeah, okay for now. Looks, again, let's go on cockpit view. Yeah, it looks like that has sustained quite a bit of damage. And that steering does not look fun at all. I'm almost certain there is some kind of suspension damage there for Kenzie. Unfortunately, we're not going to quite be able to see what speed we're going to get up to. It'll be interesting to see if maybe that aero and suspension damage maybe affected his top speed at all. But we're going to miss out on that. Just over 2 minutes left to make it to the line. Just under, rather. We shouldn't require that. We've probably got another 15 seconds before we do get to the line at most. And here we go. We're going to power all the way to the line. What's it going to be for Kenzie? It is, I think that was an 840 something, which is a pretty, yep, 844. That's a pretty reasonable lap time considering, you know, that serious suspension damage. So, yeah, interestingly then, Martin absolutely smashed that Sector 1 with a brilliant 3:20. But seemed to lose it all in that third sector at 26.8 compared to a 25.9. So, that was interesting. Some contact there at the start. That's not wonderful. I think that can happen sometimes from the rolling start bug whenever rolling starts are activated. Hopefully it's not going to cause any major issues. That was Oscar and Martin. So So an interesting little bit of trivia then for those watching on these particular cars. This is Group 6. Originally, it was introduced in 1966 for that particular racing season, at the same time as new Group 4 sports car category. Group 4 specified that competing cars must be one of at least 50 examples built. Group 6 had no minimum production requirements. So what that means is a lot of times in motorsports, to be allowed to run a car, you had to build a certain number of those through a production line before you were allowed. So that's kind of touring car type series, but these are just pure what are called prototype cars where they don't require that. But here we go, we are about to start the race. 20-minute race. There is a little bit of contact once again. Not a great start from Marcel. Martin then immediately into the lead. Kenzie also taking advantage up into P2. Marcel down to P4 for now. Mighty making it all the way up. Was in P4 there, but dropping now down to P7. And our timing screen looks like it's freaking out a little, but we're back, I think, to normal once again. Martin with a 1.3 second gap here at the moment. Let's put the map on for now. Martin with an absolutely brilliant start. Now the question is, can Oscar try to get back in there? He's catching a little. See, this gap could end up ebbing and flowing as the race goes on, because it's so difficult to be consistent at this particular circuit, and these cars are going to be difficult to be consistent with. But Oscar has closed right up on Martin. Gap extending once again a little bit. Kenzie holding on to P3 at the moment. And Mighty 10 seconds behind the minute, but keeping it on track for now. So doing a good job. Now on to the particularly difficult part of the track. Let's go in cockpit mode for Oscar. See what he sees from his eyes. And let's see what those brake lights of Martin's in particular look like. And this car certainly does look like it is such a handful to drive. But Oscar handling that very well through that section of corners. Oh, that's interesting. The car almost taking off over that bump. Let's see what happens with Ikapok here. Let's go trackside. As we go up over this bump. Way! And the car does take off. That's interesting. All four wheels off the circuit there. That has got to be very scary indeed, and that's only in the sim rig. Imagine what that would have been like if you were driving these things for real. A little bit of upside down stomach, I think, at some point. So Oscar has let that gap slip a little bit now, up to 1.8 seconds. Again, that's just going to ebb and flow as this race goes on. And Marcel, actually, at some point, we did miss that, has got up into P3, so back into the podium paying positions, and is closing down that gap to the lead. So can he get himself up in there into lead contention? He is our pole sitter for today, so down 2 positions from qualifying. But this is going to be all about the consistent lap times where you can be consistent. Oscar now 2.6 behind. Martin doing a good job then to just extend that gap out as best he can. Manage the pace. Don't over push it. see that gap just going up and down as we enter different sections, where each driver is maybe a little bit better at different things than each other. That black and yellow Momo livery is just gorgeous. Very good choice there from Martin today. Let's just bring up the speedo and let's see what Martin is doing through this particular section. Not quite flat out all the way up the hill there. And here we go down into the tightest corner of the circuit. But it is the carousel, so you can still carry an awful lot of speed, but Martin has got up out of the carousel. That's going to give a little bit of an advantage towards Oscar here, because if you don't get your wheels down into the carousel and you get up onto that other piece of tarmac, you're not going to be able to carry as much speed because the banking isn't as steep there. Ekapok doing a good job to keep it right in the carousel himself. And then Rafa is going to be coming around next. And misses as well, so gets up onto that slidey tarmac up on the outside. But still holding down P6 for the moment, so doing a good job. But importantly, Oscar now has got Marcel for company here. This is a very interesting fight for the podium. Oscar 1 second behind Martin, and Marcel just over a second behind Oscar. So we've got 3 cars within 2 or 3 seconds of each other. How much of an effect is Slipstream going to have coming down this main straight? Down into the mini carousel. Oscar all the way down to the apex there, beautifully taken. A little wide from Martin, but that's not going to affect him too much because it was a highly banked corner. But Oscar now half a second behind, and he's going to get the slipstream all the way down the main straight here. Gap is increasing it, but now it's falling. So that slipstream's just going to pull him in, pull him in, pull him in. Is the straight long enough, though? That is the question. He's doing 225 kilometers per hour. It's not going to be enough to get him side by side before the braking zone. But definitely pulled him very close anyway. So Martin's going to dive to the inside and be defensive. Oscar is going to stay wide. That is the optimal line. So he's going to be able to carry a little bit more speed through that section. Not sure if Martin really needed to defend there. Big kick of oversteer from Martin's car. This is going to be a fiery little battle. 0.471 seconds is what's separating these drivers at the minute. Just half a second between them. Oscar's got a really good run here. He could go for diver on the outside. He's not going to think about it this time, but he's putting that pressure on. He's filling the mirrors of that black and yellow Momo ahead. And that's just going to make Martin think, I've got to make sure I take absolutely everything out of this Nordschleife section of track. Excuse me? Gemini, no, please. Are you okay? Good old phone AI. Shush. Anyway, yeah, he's got to make sure he utilizes the top of this track as best he can. And he's got that gap back out to 0.9 of a second. How are they going to be over the rise? They are absolutely flat. That is very interesting. And a four-wheel drift coming in there from Martin. I think Oscar followed with a four-wheel drift as well. Oh, Oscar making a mistake, grinding along the wall. That's not going to be good for the old aero. And that's just lost 1.5 seconds to Martin and given an awful lot of time back to Marcel here. Let's go and take a look at the moment at the Asetek-Kenzie fight. So Kenzie in P4 at the moment, just holding down that position for now. 3.5 seconds between Kenzie and Asetek at the moment. Asetek closing in fast though. And that would be why Kenzie has had a bit of an issue there and has made contact with the wall. Is able to get back underway again. But again, is that going to be suspension damage? Oh, another tap of the wall. That car looks like it's severely understeering now. I think that probably is suspension damage. Oh. Oh, that's a lot more than suspension damage. That is a lot of aero damage as well, so that car is going to be very difficult to handle, if not impossible. Let's see, Oscar down into the carousel. Let's see what this is like from the cockpit. Beautiful stuff. Carousel very well handled. So, Earhart just dropping a little bit of time now to Martin. But Oscar is closing back into Martin here once again. Oscar 4.8 seconds quicker than his previous lap time. Oscar occasionally closing in, but then just picking up that warning for a penalty, track cut penalty, meaning he has to just back off that a little bit. It's not as close this time as well, so we're not going to get as much of a tow down this main straight. Martin will be very happy about that. And as we now come on to this next lap, this is going to be the final lap then, because we are not going to be able to fit another lap in this session. 4 seconds a lap quicker for Oscar that time. As we lose another driver, so Ikapok, I think, yep, has gone from this session, unfortunately. That means then Kenzie promoted to P4 and Mighty promoted to P5. So a lot of points in it here if you are able to complete the race just. Ah, bit of a mistake there for Oscar, and that's going to be a spin. That might be enough to let Marcel in. It is. So Marcel then sweeps through and is able to take P2 from Oscar. Is there enough in the tank right now to be able to chase down Marcel for P2 here? It's unlikely he's going to get back up to Martin in P1. Martin now can relax a little, just conserve the pace, manage the pace, and just bring the car home. 2 minutes left of session remaining. Doesn't look like Oscar is putting too much of a dent in a gap to Marcel here right now. As Kenzie then pits. And what would that be for, I wonder? It's likely going to be damage. It is going to be damage. And somehow a rear wing is magically manifested on that car. Ten seconds left to go in this session. So we are in the closing stages of this race. Gap to Azerhart remaining about the same here for Oscar. So Oscar might have to settle for a podium place here today. P3 might be the very best. Toxic Darkness, yep. Agree. So, we did say that Oscar wasn't filling that gap, but he has now. It's down to 2.2 seconds. Are we going to see a battle between Oscar and Azerhart for P2 of this race? It's probably about the best those guys were going to get today, because Martin is just out there in a league of his own at the moment. This Oscar Marcel fight is about to get interesting as Marcel makes a mistake then. And the gap now is down to 1 second. So here we go. This could be the opportunity that Oscar is looking for. The pressure now on Marcel. Oscar's going to be looking for a way through absolutely everywhere. But the question is, if you get through before the main straight, does the other person then just get a massive slipstream on you and get back past? Ooh, big slide from Marcel. Come out from behind the trees there, almost fully sideways. So that car does not look very comfortable at all. Into the mini carousel. And then, here we go. We're about to come on to the main straight. A full blast section all the way down towards the start-finish line. So, Oscar's definitely close enough now to be able to get a massive tow. So 300 kilometers per hour, we're already up to 310 on Oscar's car. Oscar doing 322 side by side. Now the question is this straight long enough for Marcel to... Ooh! Oh! He almost took Oscar out of the race there. That could have been a complete airplane crash. But Oscar is going to then take P2. Martin wins race 1 here in a very, very well managed sideways drift over the line at the Nürburgring. Oscar comes home P2. And Marcel then in P3. So that was that podium was basically decided earlier in the race, but you know, it was still all to play for right up to that final stretch there. As we see, that's how. Yeah, let's switch away from that before we get demonetized. Kenzie then holding down this P4 for now. And there's still so much track left that even though the gap is 43 seconds, it's still worth, or it's still possible for there to be a change of position here, because this track is just so particularly difficult. Kenzie potentially still dealing with a little bit of damage there on that car. A couple corners left and we're about to finish sector 2. Ooh, car leaping over that dip in the track. And a touch of the grass. Kenzie might be pushing a little too hard here. Still possible to lose 50 seconds at this point. 200 seconds left of this race. Almost too tight into mini carousel there. But Kenzie now, topping the wall, coming up towards the final stretch. And now full power all the way down this main straight. Let's keep an eye then on Mighty while Kenzie's doing the main straight. So Mighty a little bit better control over that bump. Certainly that car has taken a little bit of a knock here and there, but when it comes to racing at Nordschleife, you know, it's all about getting it to the finish line. Hello, camera. Camera being silly buggers. There we go. We're all right now. And just under 2 minutes now left in this race. Kenzie has crossed the line and has flipped another car over. Wonderful. Mighty then just needs to bring it home to take home points for P5. That's if he's going to have enough time. 90 seconds remaining in this session. Should be just enough from this particular point. We did then lose Rafa and Ikapak from this session. Hopefully they can rejoin us for race 2. As always, a wonderfully timed advert. Right in the middle of the stream. If I could have waited just another minute or two. But anyway, there we go. That is the end of this session. So Martin then does take home the win. Best lap an 8:12.4. Does set the best lap of the session. Then Oscar's got to settle for a P2 right now. That little bit of a mistake when racing Martin, potentially costing the win at the end of the day. Marcel, got to be happy with a P3 there. Was a potential P2, but it just wasn't going to be today. Kenzie then coming home with a P4. Mighty Hatchet with a P5. And unfortunately, Rafa then does retire from the session. So, with that done and dusted, let's save that replay. So we've got that for later. The question then becomes, what is the next race going to be like? The guys at the front of the grid are going to want to get through probably within the GP circuit, because the circuit is considerably wider at that point, so it's going to be easier to be able to make any overtakes required. But it's certainly not going to be easy. Next race in approximately 5 minutes. See, Twitch now would be perfect if you did not read. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? But in that case, I will do one. Thank you very much for joining us during the stream. Hope you're enjoying it, and hope you enjoy the next race as well. Don't forget to visit phoenixsimsport.co.uk, where again we've got some wonderful merch, and we have got some good stuff coming in the future as well on the website. So make sure you bookmark it so that you can see any updates. Also, as well, don't forget that Phoenix Sim Sport are going to be starting an Assetto Corsa Formula 1 League, so that will be kicking off very soon. Make sure you grab the Assetto Corsa role. Assetto Corsa is on sale at the moment. Make sure you grab it while you can. Join us over there for some awesome Formula 1 racing. The mod is just beautiful. It's a very, very good rendition of the Formula 1 cars. So definitely, it's an absolute pleasure to drive. So if you're interested in doing Formula 1 racing, join us over there. So with that, then, we are going to take a 5-minute break, and we will be back with you very soon indeed.
to find the real penalty client app. So maybe there's a newer version.
Yep, I was muted for absolutely ages while explaining a whole pile of stuff. Yeah. Apologies, everyone. We are back once again. It's maybe just as well we did have a restart because I would have been muted for most of that race without even realizing it. We are back underway once again. I'll get back to the session. Thank you very much for rejoining us. Thank you very much for putting up with more technical issues. Yeah, but we're back. So, as we mentioned before, the guys will be forming the grid. It is going to be a reverse grid for this session. Rafa is going to be leading the grid at the moment. And then it is going to be Kenzie, then Marcel, Oscar, then Martin. The trick is that those guys that did get a podium last session, they're going to want to try to get past the guys in front as early as possible because they don't want to be stuck behind those guys that are going to potentially be a little bit slower while their rival gets away. So, picking your moment to attack may very well be the deciding factor in this race. And the thing is, Nordschleife is going to be extremely tricky. How this restart is going to work is the cars are going to all line up 2 by 2 on the GP circuit. Then we will be using the pit limiter to keep all the cars at the same pace. And then once the start is called, the drivers will then continue racing. Now, the thing is, that does mean that the drivers will not be able to use the GP circuit for racing on the first lap. All of the action is going to be the whole way around the Nordschleife before we get back around to the actual GP circuit. So it's going to be tricky out there. The driver's going to have to battle for every inch they possibly can on a very, very narrow circuit, all while trying to make sure that their rivals are not going to get past them. Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one out there. And as well as that, all while having to deal with the fact that it is pitch black out there as well. So it's definitely going to be a tricky race. So everyone now under pit limiter conditions. And all drivers will release the pit limiter after the go time. So rolling starts are also something that is a little bit different from the standing start we had in race 1. It's a bit of a different skill, and here we go then. Racing is underway, and Ikapok has been jumped a little and Oscar makes his way into P5. Martin then is going to be through for P3. Rafa a little bit slow. Martin through. Marcel's going to try to follow through, but it's very, very narrow at this part of the circuit. Oscar's going to try and follow through as well, but can't, is blocked by Rafa. And Marcel and Oscar both battling, but cannot. So Marcel loses position to Oscar then as a result of that. Rafa off onto the grass. Oh, potential bit of contact there, but good avoidance skills from Marcel. Marcel, I think, doesn't have his lights on actually. So that is going to really suck once he gets out of the way of the cars ahead. Let's put trackside on. I think he's got his lights on now, so he's got back into the swing of things. Oscar now up into P3. Kenzie following along closely behind Martin here. Martin already into the lead of this race on lap 1. So the question is, how long can Kenzie hold on? Can Oscar get past anytime soon and chase down Martin for the win here? Or is it going to be a double win for Martin today? Only time will tell. But Oscar here right all over that rear wing of Kenzie. And we have lost Rafa from this race, unfortunately, who has retired on lap 1. Absolute drifty McGee from Oscar. As this track whips from left to right. Where do you try to get through? This is a good opportunity for Oscar to get through, and he does then get through for P2. So Kenzie falls to P3. Oscar 2.2 seconds behind Martin. He's got a little bit of work to do to get through. Now can Azur Hart get through as well? Not quite. Kenzie defends very well against Marcel there. Marcel's got the pace to hold it up here with Oscar, but he needs to get past Kenzie. Kenzie's just that little tiny bit slower. But let's see what happens here. Ikapok losing out at the moment with 12.6 behind. There's still a long way to go in this race, so it's still all to play for. Oscar already has the gap down to 1.3 seconds to Martin, and Hart then is past Kenzie and can now start trying to push down towards Oscar here, 3 seconds ahead. So gap now down to 1 second. So already Oscar has caught right up, and lights turned off. That was very interesting. I wonder, was that tactical or was that an accident from Oscar there? But interesting to say the least. 3/4 of a second behind Martin. Let's go on chase cam here. Martin a little wide into that higher speed hairpin, but how are we going to look down into the carousel? There we go. All the way in there. Oh, Martin's made a mistake though. Martin's made a mistake. That could be an opening for Oscar. It is. It's an opening for Oscar round the outside. Oscar then does take the lead of the Group 6 race, but Martin's going to try and fight back. It's not enough. So for now, Oscar in the lead of this race. 0.16 of a second between them, so still all to play for, but that was a big chunk of curb that Martin took on the inside there, so that's going to put him back just a little bit. He's not going to be able to carry as much speed, but he's sticking close to the number 19. Kenzie, interestingly, back past Azur Hart here. I wonder, is that a mistake somewhere. 9.6 seconds off the lead at the moment. So Kenzie in the pound seats right now for a podium position. Oh, Martin taking absolutely every possible inch of track that he can in this fight against Oscar. Oscar controlling the pace reasonably well. He's doing a good job just keeping it on track. Ooh, Martin having a little bit of a look up the inside, but not quite enough to get alongside. Down into that mini carousel. A little bit of an oversteer moment from Oscar. He's really struggling with that oversteer right now. And now we're coming on to the sector 3 straight, and Martin is right there in that slipstream zone. So it's an almost certainty that Martin is going to be alongside at some point here. Is he though? 0.36, I wonder. Is there a difference in setups here? I wonder. Did Oscar choose a lower downforce setup, the loose setup, and that's why he's struggling with that bit of oversteer that Martin doesn't seem to be, but it means he's got that higher top speed so he can defend on that main straight. Ultimately, if you can stay ahead, then it doesn't matter whether or not you're suffering from that little bit of oversteer or not, as long as it doesn't cause enough of a mistake to allow the other driver through. So, Oscar then does lead on the way into lap 2, 14 minutes left in this session. Still likely to only be a 3-lap race. But what an exciting 3 laps this is going to be. Yeah, that does look like, unfortunately, Marcel does have to pit for damage down into P5 at the moment. That promotes Ikepock up into P4, and Kenzie has a great shot today of a podium. At least P3, maybe even better if he can keep it on track, but let's see. This is a great little fight here. Let's just go on board with Martin. So maybe Martin did choose loose as well. Again, a lot of struggles with the rear of that car. It doesn't look quite as well planted as he probably would like. Oh, and that's a big mistake. A big chunk of gravel taken from Oscar there, but it doesn't look like the stewards are going to take any action against that. So it doesn't look like it's any advantage gained, but it is a little bit of time loss. So that just does invite Martin back within that half a second again. 13 minutes to go. And unfortunately, Ikepock does get a time penalty for track limits. Ooh. A little step out there. Car's getting very wiggly. And here we go, we're going to approach this jump. What are the drivers going to do? They do just send it over. Oh, Oscar! Oscar has gone sideways. And unfortunately, up over that rise, he's lost the car, and that does then allow Martin through for the lead of this race. Gap 4 seconds now, and the question is, how much damage is on that car? Because that then invite Kenzie in to take even more points away from Oscar. This is not a great result for him. He really needed to take the second win away from Martin to try and keep this here championship fight alive. But that looks like some serious damage now on that car, which is really unfortunate. That was likely to be, you know, a really, really good battle all race long. Oh, it does now just look like that car is going to be very difficult. Let's just go in cockpit, see if we can tell if there's suspension damage. It doesn't look too floaty at the rear, so it might be okay, but it's not wonderful. Let's just keep an eye on that gap to Kenzie. So for now, Oscar lapping fast enough to stay ahead of Kenzie. But the question then becomes, you know, do you risk it and stay out and potentially then end up crashing and causing more damage and then having to pit? Or do you pit with a little bit of damage and then potentially, you know, have a nice clean car to be able to race with? It's a tough call to make. It's 20-second gap at the moment. How much would Oscar want to give up if he were to pit? That is the ultimate question. But that gap is increasing, so it might not be severe enough for a pit stop. It might just all be aero damage, if any at all. Now, the contact with the wall was quite severe, and it was at quite a high speed. But then again, maybe just glancing the wall at just the right angle meant that he got away with not a huge amount of damage there at all. That car looks perfectly fine around the carousel. So it does look like then Oscar will be able to continue for now. So let's take a look then at this battle here between Ikepok and Kenzie. So 4.2 seconds is the gap at the moment. So, oh no! As we go on board, Ikepok making a mistake and touching the wall. That's taken out one of his lights at the front, unfortunately, on that front left corner. Who knows what else kind of damage that's caused as well. So unfortunately, we were potentially going to be treated to a little battle there, but yeah, that may very well have put paid to that. But that does then just give Kenzie that little bit more breathing room to be able to score a podium here today. So gap now up to 6 seconds. And the question is as well, how much time can Azure Heart catch up in this entire time? It's 65 seconds to Ikepok right now. Azure needs to recover as many points as possible. He has the potential to be in there in that championship fight. But at the moment, the other drivers, Martin and Oscar, are just, you know, getting those big point scores and not getting involved in incidents. You know, on the flip side, we've seen Marcel just be involved in a couple of incidents, perfectly innocent in some of them, you know, but yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, luck can play into things, and sometimes you make your own luck. So, but still plenty of races to go in this season, and still plenty of time left in this race to score some good points. So far, Azure Heart has taken 3 or 4 seconds out of Ikepok at the minute, but the gap to Kenzie is starting to, well, actually come down. I wonder, has Kenzie had an issue? Doesn't look like it. Maybe it was just a particularly tricky sector, because that gap now is back up to 5.5. right to track limits there. And we now have 6 minutes remaining in this session, or 6:20 rather. So this is again likely to be our final lap of the race. The drivers are not going to be able to get around in time to start another lap. So this is going to be final opportunity for drivers to pit if they do wish to do so. But Kenzie doesn't need to, can continue. Let's go on board with Ikepox, see what the decision is there. Does not pit either, so Oscar and Ikepox, although having suffered a little bit of damage there, deciding that it is not in their best interest to pit. So Azerhart then with 58 seconds to catch up within one lap. That's a lot of time. It's going to be quite a bit of a struggle. And that will be an absolutely incredible drive if Azure can catch up that time within one lap. Even though the lap here is particularly long, that would be a mega drive. Gap now between Oscar and Martin just hit that 10 seconds. So right now, Martin's probably got to be thinking just about managing the pace, bringing the car home. No real need to feel under pressure right now. Oscar's just slowly dropping back. Oscar thinking, you know, just got to take the points right now. He's really got to decide, you know, does he push to try and close this down, or just think, yeah, it is what it is. We'll take the points and then we'll fight in the next event. Up to Kenzie, you know, up to 37 seconds at the moment. So at the very least, Oscar not feeling any pressure from behind. So let's see how that goes. Ikepox just over 9 seconds to Kenzie now, and just under 52 to Azerhart. Marcel, ooh, a little bit of a wiggly car there from Ikepox. As we said earlier, this is such a crazy challenge for the drivers involved, and to try and do this at night as well is just absolutely incredible. You know, and that's to say nothing about the drivers that do this in an endurance race as well. And, you know, yes, with the team of drivers, but you're still going to be in there for a long time, you know, trying to do 24 hours of this circuit. Where you have to laser focus. You can't switch your brain off at any point, because any small mistake and you hit those very close walls very hard. You know, and if you do that in the 22nd hour, you ruin your team's chances of a good finish. So, yep, it's a very, very big challenge for all of these guys. But that's why it's such a legendary circuit. Ooh! Car stepping out on Ikepox there, and that is a spin there. We do get back on circuit once again, though, but that does give a little bit more time to Kenzie and Marcel behind. It's still probably not going to be possible for Marcel to catch up. Ikepox's best lap was an 8:42.2. And we know Marcel can do an 8:12, but that's only going to be a 30-second, you know, advantage. Ooh, but if Ikepuck does that and take out both his lights, then that may very well be the end then for Ikepuck. There's really nothing he can do here. It's going to be pretty much impossible to be able to tell where he's going. It's just absolutely pitch black out there. I mean, he's doing a great job here of managing to see where the circuit is. Somehow he's able to keep driving. But from our point of view, it is just absolutely pitch black. There's another contact with the wall. Oh, that's really unfortunate for Ikepuck. Oh. He was doing quite well there, you know, and would have taken home a good chunk of points for the championship. But he's trying to keep going. That's very impressive. There's going to be a serious struggle. Oh, yeah, that is going to be it then for Ikepuck. Understandably so. That would have just been so impossible to bring that car home. You know, it was... oh, Kenzie nearly losing his light, one singular light that he has left as well. He's got to look after that light. But that was understandable from Ikepuck. That was just really unfortunate, you know, that it was a night race and you lose your lights at this circuit and you're just done. It's just pitch black for the vast majority of this circuit. Quite a few circuits these days are very well floodlit, and the headlights are, you know, almost a secondary thought. Yeah, unfortunate, but that's racing for you. Martin then on to the main back straight, as is Oscar. Doing a heroic job to keep this car on circuit. But today it is going to be Martin that takes double honours, and he does then finish the race in the lead. That is a double win then from Martin. That is some serious points in that championship. So keep an eye on the standings page for when results get released. Somehow Martin tapped the wall head first and didn't lose a single light. That's very interesting. Oscar is going to come across the line second, so that is a double P2 there for Oscar. You know, a little bit of wonderful, wonderful game physics there. Mechanical fault, yes. I would say there probably is a mechanical fault in that car right now. Yep, an absolutely brilliant drive there today. Oh, Kenzie must have touched the wall at some point. That doesn't look like properly functioning electronics. Oh, they seem to be okay now. Oh, not if we take off over the grass like that. Only a couple more corners to go, Kenzie. Come on. Bring it on home. That's the one. And now straight towards the line. And it's a podium for Kenzie then, so a brilliant drive from Kenzie to bring that home. That's some good solid points in the championship as well. Yep, absolutely hammering into those two guys in the corner. Marcel, then unfortunate, that could have been a better race, but just getting involved in getting some damage early on in the race, meaning you have to pit, meaning you lose a lot of time. So it is a P4, so you got to take the points where they come. But yep, for today, that's where he is positioned. So there we go then. An interesting race, as I say. Don't forget to keep an eye on the standings. We will be posting up our results there very soon. Absolutely incredible lap there from Martin. An 8-minute 9.3 to pull that out right on that that race where, you know, it's pitch dark. Just goes to show how much pace Martin had there today. Oscar could have been up there, you know, but obviously got that damage early enough on. It's just put an end to that particular battle. So let's go back to that screen. Let's see. Let's pull. Let's pull Oscar across. Let's go with Martin first, who is our winner. So, hello, Martin. Welcome to the Combox.
Hello, hello, hello.
So, double win there today. Absolutely brilliant drive from yourself, and an absolute flyer of a lap on that final race as well to get down to an 8-minute 9. You know, some interesting action there today. Well controlled in the first race, but in the second race, Oscar was right there. In fact, even got past at one point, but a mistake just ended that battle almost right away. Tell us a little bit about how that went for you.
Yeah, so it was well, it's one of those car track combos where I'd say the track is definitely your biggest nemesis rather than the drivers. And
For sure.
I mean, make no mistake, Oscar's always going to give me a hard time for sure, as he demonstrated by passing me in race 2.
Yep.
But the track has just claimed so many lives again tonight. A couple of retirements. I think about 20-30% of the field ended up retiring tonight. As for my race, though, I'd say race 1 went fairly well. Made a couple of mistakes, so Oscar was able to stay close by for quite some time. And then I think he had a nice photo finish with Marcel at the end.
That is right. Yep, it was very close right in the end there.
And then for race 2, I don't know. I would have expected it to be harder because of the fog and the darkness, and I actually
For
kind
sure.
of underestimated how dark it would actually get out there.
Yeah.
But in another way, it was kind of maybe slightly easier because you see less, so there's less to distract you as well.
That's a very good point. So it means then you can actually focus a lot better on where you're actually going.
Exactly. And when
That's
when the second bout of fog came, I was about to thank Oscar for being in front of me so I didn't have to be alone in the fog. And that's right when his car decided to go haywire at the jump.
Yeah, it had been taken so many times this particular race, but it just decided at that particular point it was going to take a life. So, yep, very unfortunate.
Yeah, he said he was quite puzzled by that one because he said he went through with 0 inputs and his car just jerked to the left when he landed.
Yeah, it did seem very strange. But, yep, that's one of those things, isn't it? That's the quirk of physics. We're all a victim of physics at times, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much. And who knows, around this track, sometimes I think it might be a bit more than just physics going on.
For sure. Exactly. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the double win. It's looking like this is going to be a very spicy season. So we look forward to seeing you out again next week.
Appreciate it. Hope you had fun watching.
All right. Certainly did. All right. I will put you back down to PC2 paddock. And then let's bring in Oscar. Let's get from the man himself what went on there in that race. Let's go for up here. All right, Oscar. Thank you very much for joining us in the Combox. So an interesting 2 races there today. Would you say that, you know, Martin did very well in that first race. You know, well managed. Second race, you did well to get ahead, but the jump takes a life again. Just you know, deciding to just send your car into the wall for no apparent reason. Let us know your feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually pace was. I think me and Martin had pretty much identical pace in the first race. Uh, in the first lap, he was pulling away.
Yep.
And then I did my stupid spin, and after that I
Yeah.
noticed that I was catching him maybe like 3 or 4 seconds the last lap. So
Yeah, it was definitely
it was
you know,
really
interesting.
even.
Definitely,
Yeah, without that spin.
it was, and it was very interesting to watch. You know, and it just sets up that this is going to be a very interesting season, and I think we're all looking forward to see how it goes. You know, we've got another great chapter to write next week. You know, so yeah, it's a double P2 today. Marcel almost made it a P3 in race 1, but you were able to get that back with that draft down the main straight. So it's
Yeah.
some good solid points. I think you've got to be happy with that today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Happy with that. At least
Definitely.
the first race. Yeah, the draft getting past Marcel, but it wasn't just because of the draft. It was because he actually made a small mistake in the corner
So
leading up to the back straight. So that was, I think, what cost him the P2 in first race.
interesting. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to send you back then to the paddock. Congratulations on the double podium.
Yeah,
and we'll
thank
see
you.
you again next week. All right. Let's see if we can get a word from Marcel then, who did get a P3. In fact, let's get our two P3 sitters. Let's go. We're going to do a double interview here. We've got both of you. Thank you very much for joining us in the com box. So, interestingly, you two guys basically swapped positions in both races. So, Marcel, you were doing a great job there in the first race. Almost got P2, in fact, holding it with you know, Oscar and Martin at the front. And just that, you know, that draft down that main straight, you know, and Oscar reckons a little bit of a mistake as well, just meant that P2 did go to Oscar. But you've got to be happy with a podium. But then unfortunate damage in the first race, or in the second race rather, you know, making it a little bit difficult. Let us know how you thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really know what to say. Like, it's disappointing when you make a mistake like that and the problem just compounds. I mean, luckily in the second run, when I made that mistake, it was towards the end of the lap, so
yep,
I didn't lose that much time. But that first race, just that tiny mistake put me way out of position going into the back straight.
That's exactly it. It's interesting how sometimes all it takes is such a tiny mistake, you know, and it can make such a huge difference. But then Kenzie, you know, you almost not putting a foot wrong there today meant that you come away with a P4 and a P3. You know, where others did retire or got damaged and had to pit for it. You picked up some good solid positions there, so let us know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, we were just talking about that with other drivers. I was just talking about that with them. Like, consistency is key, I guess, for me, right? Because I know I can't compete with these guys, with Marcel, Martin, and Oscar. But I don't quit. I just keep going.
Exactly.
And that gives results, as you can see, right?
Exactly, and I think it's such an underrated quality of some drivers, and I think you've got that grit to continue in absolute spades. We've seen it so much in this and previous seasons as well, where you're picking up points where other drivers would say, you know, nope, you know, I'm slightly out of position, you know, or I'm not quite as quick. But you're right,
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
That's not my mentality. But to be honest, being in a top 4 with these guys is already a fucking big deal for me anyway. Because
exactly.
they're so fast, right?
Exactly. You've got to be happy with that, right?
And the last race, I was like second and third as well, just because of like the consistency. And I think I like the two race. Kind of fits me more, the two
It
race
is.
deal.
It's an interesting format,
But,
you know.
yeah.
Definitely, I think it's something, you know, that can help other drivers more than you know, than some. You know, so do you feel that that kind of format definitely it helps you a little bit more?
It does help. It also helps because the races are shorter and you have like a little break in between.
Yeah,
So because it can get tedious if you're just like
of course.
constantly in a 1 hour long race, you just
Yes.
you go in automatic pilot, right?
Yes.
And but so this feels better for me. I don't know why, but it's just yeah,
Okay.
feels good. So
That's
I'm
interesting. That's
excited. Yeah.
interesting, and it definitely is interesting from a spectator point of view as well, because we get to see that a lot more action as well.
Yeah.
You know, two short sprint races tend to have that little bit more action in them.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you very much, and congratulations to you both on getting a podium today. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. All right. I'll
Have a good one.
send you back down to the PC2 paddock. There we go. And there we go. And then we come to every one of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. I have been Maverick. You have watched us today race around the Nordschleife on Project Cars 2. If you are interested in joining us here at Phoenix Sim Sport, do reach out to us. Or join us via discord.gg/Phoenix Simsport Phoenix Simsport, just not .co.uk. .co.uk is the website. You can also go to the website www.phoenixsimsport.co.uk. If you do go there, there is also a Discord link there on the website. You can join through there. Don't forget as well, we do also have the shop. There's plenty of merch there. The plan also is we'll be getting some of our tables up there as well. And it does require a little bit of technical work from myself and the website team, but we do plan to get that up there eventually. Please do bear with us. You know, and also as well, another shout out to our Assetto Corsa League, which will be starting as well. It'll be kicking off with Formula One initially, but we will be also adding the likes of Formula E, Formula 4, Mazda MX-5, and others as well. Touring car is a big one too. I think part of that may have been cut off by the end. I need to get better at these here timing things with ads. Apologies. See, even Mav can make mistakes in commentary. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us here today. I hope you really, really enjoyed that. I certainly have enjoyed speaking to you all today. Please do make sure to like the stream and all that kind of stuff. You know, and do the subscribies and smash that like button or whatever it is the kids these days say. Don't forget to join us as well for F2 on Friday, where we will be hitting the Hungaroring, and as well our ACC stream on Saturday, with hopefully going to be followed up eventually with our AC streams on the Sunday, where you'll be able to see us hitting the track with those beautiful Formula One cars. So please do join us, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.